Hello, beautiful people. I wanted to come chat with you and have a little heart to heart about homesteading. So, everybody wants to try homesteading. All my friends and relatives have been talking about homesteading, and I think it's just in the air. Homesteading is in the air. It's a perfect time to talk about it because we're in seed starting, spring is here. And so, I wanted to just chat about our journey, our family's journey. We came from a townhome, which was great. I would grow actually in my kitchen. My husband actually made me this little cart, and I would grow not tomatoes. I would grow strawberries in the cart. And I could roll it around. It was really cool. I could roll it around by the windows. I could put it on our outside of our patio. It was amazing. And then the growing seasons would come and I'd want to grow more, and the excitement would just take me over, and we actually, knowing what we wanted for our future, for our sons, we decided that we were going to buy a space. So we did that. We looked around and we actually got a really good deal in the space we're at now. It wasn't expensive. It was really great, actually. It's a 4-bedroom home, 2-car garage, and a huge growing space. And we got a really good deal, but it needed a lot of work. And coming from the townhome and having kind of been managed by their rules there, we knew that we were ready to put in the work. We were committed to working. And so we had a trailer, an RV that didn't run. And so we stayed in the RV while the boys tended to the house because it needed so much work. We had our huskies and our cat. We got a cat because the house that we were moving into had mice in it, or it had previously had mice in it. So we needed a mouse or cat. So we got a cat, and we little by little worked on the house. They worked on the house. We actually even had Thanksgiving in our RV, which was really sweet for all of us to come together and know what our future goals were and know what we wanted as a family. And we were committed to doing that, working together, and we did. And so we started really small. The garden space that I had, so we have a front garden, I have a side garden, and then I have a backyard and a way back space plot. And so we had the way back space was like the biggest, but I could tell that there was a lot of soil amendments that need to be done. We would find all kinds of tools and nails and different things, glass back there. And so I was amending the soil all the time while the boys were working on the house. I was working on the soil. And I knew how to work the land. So I come from a line of medicine women, medicine people in my lineage. I'm Native American. And so I knew all about soil health. I knew about that. I knew about plant medicines. I know all, we grow medicine and we work with plant medicine. So I knew about all that. I was just getting to know plants like tomatoes and cucumbers. Obviously I knew about them. My grandmother had a big garden, and I was raised by my grandmother. And before that, she was raised on a farm. So I knew about them. I just didn't know about varieties and how to tend to them in a good way. And so I was committed to learning about them. So that first year, I just started whatever I could outside. I didn't start any seeds inside. I just went right outside, and things started growing really great. So I was really excited for that. And then fast forward year by year, I just started learning more. And my garden looked like a mess. It was hodgepodge. We would find pots and different growing tools and growing materials on our Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and I would just have my husband go pick them up, and I would just put them back there. There wasn't no rhyme or reason. And I think that was probably my fun time growing, right? Because I was experimenting, I was trying out all these new things, and I would get so excited when I would see a tomato out my back window when I was washing dishes, or little things like that. Or even when the squirrels and birds would come for my stuff, I would be like, oh my gosh, like I have a garden to share with the animals. Right? Now I fight them. Now I'm like, oh, here comes these squirrels again. But that was all part of the growing stages of my garden, and I was so excited to be in that process. There was a time where I couldn't garden on a full scale like I am now, and so I was really grateful is the word that I always think about. And so The boys learned how to help me tend to the garden, and we were all kind of doing that. And our garden space in the back was where we spent most of our time. We are rarely in the house come the good weather. We are always out back doing all kinds of projects and working on things. I love that, right? I cook back there, all of it. So the next couple years, I started getting into seed saving because I seed save all of our plant medicines. I've been doing that since I was a little girl. I was taught that a long time ago. So then I started seed saving all of these varieties of tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and all of the things, right? And that was really fun. I started to keep a journal. I've always kept a journal since I was little, but I started to keep a more tactful journal. And it worked wonders, and I could go back and look, and I loved doing that. Then I wanted chickens. Yes. So I just told the boys, like, we're gonna get chickens. This is what we're doing. And we did it, and we've had chickens 7 years maybe. We had chickens that second year that we lived here. I was like, I'm just doing it. I think our first chicken was Clementine. She was a Buff Orpington. She was loud. She was loud, but she was sweet and very gentle, and I loved having her. And we had one chicken. And then the next year I was like, oh, we're going to get some little chicks. And we did that. And I learned how to integrate chickens. And I learned all of the things. I learned how to process their poop and put that in the compost and rotate that. And before we knew it, we had rabbits. And I would rotate the animals so they were on different spaces of land. And then I would rotate my crops. And I learned all this on my own. Then I wasn't watching YouTube and I wasn't looking things up. I wanted to really learn. I wanted to create my own learning space, and I had a lot of grace on myself. And I think that's what we need to remember, is to have grace when we're learning. And there's going to be all these rules of thumb, and everybody offering advice, and take that advice. It's really good advice, but also know that the best learning comes from your own experience, trial and error. That's how we all learn. That's what I tell people. That's a great tool. There is no failure because you learn from that, right? And so I always kept that in mind. And, every year is better than the last. And I love that. So now, I invested in really good growing materials. So I'm pointing over there because some of my growing stuff is over there. It's my seedlings. So we got racks. I always look for deals for racks. So I got the racks, and I got heat mats, and I got several different kinds of lights that I'm trying. And I still do my experiments because I love that. Sometimes I look on the past years and I try something new. I love being able to do that. It's like a cook with recipes. Your greatest recipe is probably something you added in, or with that touch of love. And so that's how I run my garden, and I love that. And I didn't know everything in the beginning, but I learned, and I kept on doing it, and I kept to it, and it created so much excitement. And I work with the seasons. Being indigenous, I was always taught the seasons are so beneficial, and this earth has been going on such a long time before us humans got here. And so Creator and the seasons, they know all the stuff we think we know, right? And they've been doing this a long time. And so I worked with them, and I let them teach me. In the spring, when things are waking up, they're coming out of that hibernation. Winter is a hibernation. Us as humans and plants, they need that time. They need that time to sleep and regenerate their nutrients. And people think the sun is the only source, that the plants need. No, that moon does amazing things for our plants. And I know that because I know from my lineage and my grandmothers what the moon does for us as humans, and what the moon does for them plant medicines and them plants. So I kind of let all of the spirits and the essence around me teach me. And they taught me well, and I'm always continuing to learn. So if you are thinking about starting a garden, if you think you need to spend all this money, you don't. Start small. Start small. You don't need heat mats and grow lights. You don't need any of that. What you need to do if you don't have them things is you need to know your growing seasons, your last frost date, your first frost date, all of that stuff. But when it starts to warm up and then temperatures start to get to a good level, you'll have to look that up and stuff, which you can do. You have a phone. Then you can start to put your plants by a window where the sun hits it, and know how many hours of light that plant might need. So you don't need all of this extra stuff. It's beneficial once you get started in year 2 and you're like, hey, maybe I could get one thing at a time. That's okay. Get one thing at a time. But I'll tell you what, last year I didn't have all the stuff that I have now even. And I have a porch. And so I think it was June. I just started growing things in milk jugs and old salad containers and all kinds of stuff. And I just put it by the window. And before I knew it, my porch was filled with all kinds of greenery. And then I was like, what am I going to do with all this? Because I was like, I need to give this away as gifts because, you know, I had already started so many things outside and I was just trying to see what will grow inside. And so it's such a fun journey that nothing is wrong. There's no wrong in this. It's a learning journey. It's experiencing life and being a co-creator with life. And then that circle, that sacred circle that happens when you put all of your love and energy into a seed, and then that seed feeds you and your family. And then you save them seeds. And then that circle keeps on going around. A beautiful thing. My sons have learned so much about life from starting seeds. And I cannot wait until these videos, which I created these videos because I write a lot of stuff down, but I like to look back on, I would love to look back on a video and be like, oh, that's how I did that. Or, you know, just being my own teacher and helping myself out. Like the future me will be thankful for this video. You know who else will be thankful for this video? My grandchildren. Because they are going to get to see how I started everything. And I love the thought of me speaking not only to all of you, but to my future self and my grandchildren. I think that's my motivation for doing these videos. Yeah, I think, you know, I teach a lot of classes. That's what I do for a living. I teach classes on indigenous gardening and plant medicine. And so when I think about leaving a legacy for my grandchildren or maybe grandchildren I may never get to meet physically, this is why I do this. This is why I garden. Because one day there may be a grandchild of mine that is tending to a seed that I saved years, decades ago. Yeah, that's my why. So know your why when you start. Know your goals, write that stuff down so you can look back at your journal and be like, wow, I didn't know where I wanted to be. I didn't know how to start, but I knew I wanted to feed my family healthy food, and I wanted to know where my food came from, and I wanted to see my children and my family make healthy food from things I helped create, from plants I helped create. So just a little tidbit to give you hope and to tell you, get started. Not tomorrow, today. Okay, friends, I gotta go. I gotta get to the garden. Until next time.